hand over the baton to Parth Nyati, who's waiting to take on the next session. Is Parth connected yet?
He's connecting.
He's connecting. Okay. So while Parth is connecting, not to leave our viewers in a limbo, since our chairman Lalitji Mundra is here, Lalitji, what do you make of the session so far?
Namaste Alokji, namaste all our viewers. So many interesting sessions, Alokji, you have hosted. And I was, excitingly watching you thoroughly, regularly throughout all the 3 days. Lot of new learnings, which I'm likely to share towards the end of the session. So now the Parth is also in.
So, we were, just in case if Parth is wondering if I have taken his job, I haven't. I was just using Lalit, our chairman Lalitji, as a filler while you were logging on. So I now hand over the baton to you, Parth. Over to you. And I'm Alok Churiwala and I'm out of here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alokji. I think nobody can do this job better than you. So in the past 3 days, we all have been really fortunate to hear straight from the Galacticos of the Indian stock and global stock markets ecosystem. So we have remained captivated with such refreshing knowledge sessions, of which I will give a brief recap at the end of this closing session. Now, to give away their observations on a successful India Investor Show 2022, I welcome Ms. Catherine Edmondson and Mr. Lalit Mundra. I first invite Ms. Catherine Edmondson, Executive Director of International Forum for Investor Education, IFIE, for her observations and takeaways.
Catherine, you're on mute.
Catherine has joined us via a phone bridge. I think she is on mute.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Yes.
It seems like the bridge was changing. It kept switching on and off. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Catherine, loud and clear.
I apologize for that. Thank you. Thank you for, again, for gathering together for this 3rd annual India Investor Show, credited and organized under the auspices of BBF and IFIE, again under the auspices of SEBI's leadership, in honor of IOSCO's World Investor Week 2022. I once again thank especially BBF and its leaders, members, staff, and colleagues for their leadership and commitment and tireless efforts, including to support the work of IFIE and IOSCO. As we bring this event to a close, I remind you have access to resources and information from this event, including through YouTube channels. Some thoughts on lessons learned, ways to go forward suggested by our time together. Overall, it's always and never more so now to ask in each of and all of our contacts, do these 3 days together suggest our approaches and concerns are critical and the appropriate ones towards strengthening the individual investor's financial resilience in context of his or her life, goals, family, community, present, and future, and the goals of accountability, transparency, inclusiveness, equity in the financial markets? I think the answer is yes. Strengthening financial capability, investor education, and protection qualities have critical roles to play in increasing investor financial resilience and confidence to participate in financial markets, obviously on an informed basis. So 3 specific thoughts. First, I believe these last 3 days have reinforced the fact that we will continue to have to, as a community, focus on risk issues and assessment related to retail investors in our markets, including because rapidly evolving complex environments with new dynamics create opportunities, but also increase some risks. As well, some investors new to the markets, as well as experienced investors, have changed how they assess and ask on risks in making decisions given the last 2.5 years. Number 2, Increases in digitalization of markets and in investor participation in them, as well as in social media dynamics, are changing how financial products and services are distributed and marketed, but also how retail investors act and interact with the financial markets and financial products and services. This has a wide range of implications for individual investors and the financial market ecosystem they interact with, from online security and online investing to what and how individuals are influenced, the information filters and context they use, and who they trust. Number 3, in the opening session, I said one of the goals of this yearly event for BBF and IFIE is to extend the ideas of IOSCO's World Investor Week to the other 51 weeks of the year. I challenged you to use this time to learn, think about your parts in this collective effort to strengthen individual investors and this context and field, what your next steps might be, areas to build on, bridge, partner, revise, repair, etc. Wherever you're focused, together, we're looking at how individuals become more aware, build knowledge and how-to skills, and then act in context of learning who to trust and what sources, what to do, and how to strengthen themselves, their families, communities, and all in the context of COVID-related dynamics, increases in complexity, uncertainty, and change. For new investor groups such as young people and/or entrepreneurs or women, but also experienced investors. All of us have been impacted and or are trying to understand how to act in context of the changes in markets or new areas of investing, such as the emerging dynamics, products, and services of sustainable finance. What is happening now and what we do together, this group and others like us, will impact a generation of investors all over the world. We know that influences on finances affect people's generational assessments of how they will manage money and what they will do. We've seen it repeatedly, and we're already seeing it in the context of what we're learning from the impact of COVID, for example. So, speaking from my experience in this evolving field over time globally, I think we have heard and seen in these last 3 days evidence that we have opportunities. In the language of the SEBI chair, opportunities that are also quote unquote free. So 2 examples. One, as individual investing accounts increase and individuals desire to be involved to pay attention and understanding the necessity of institutional contexts, we will see that individuals may need to understand more about direct impact and relevance of institutional market frames for their futures, whether, for example, in how pension schemes work and what they invest in and what individuals are expected to approve or not approve or react or act, and or insurance products and services. Just 2 examples. This is an opportunity we all have to understand how individuals interact, what information they need, and how they make decisions with institutional market structures, even if indirectly. I know from work, as I'm sure you all do, that individuals are paying attention in this area and they're going to need help, but we're also going to learn a lot about what kinds of assistance, information, et cetera, supports are going to be needed to make their interactions across the retail markets and institutional markets clearer and more effective. Second, we have the opportunity to understand more about individuals new to the markets or new to a particular type of investing, such as sustainable in all its emerging dimensions, need to have to be informed to make active and smart decisions. What I'm seeing in this area already, including in different generational cohorts, is that individuals seem, at least in some areas, to want different types of information to learn and to make decisions, different across cohorts, but also different in that they might be being provided with information that they don't actually use and that they want other information that is not being provided. We can learn a lot right now about what individuals new to the markets or new to a particular type of investing need to participate in informed ways, and or what influences new or additional decision making, risk assessment, etc. These are all huge opportunities to strengthen our markets and help strengthen financial resiliency in a challenging, transformational, and dynamic period. I cannot thank all of you enough. I look forward to being with you in person soon, to contributing and working with partnerships and collaborations and conferences with BBF, SEBI and IOSCO. And I thank you again for your time and attention.
Thanks, Catherine, for your observations. And I'm sure we all of us are going to work together to keep simplifying investing for the current investors as well as the next generations to come. I now invite Mr. Lalit Mundra, Chairman, BSE Brokers Forum, to share his thoughts and takeaways.
Thank you, Parth. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, thank you all for joining the third edition of BBF-IFIE World Investor Week celebrations, India Investor Show 2022, under the aegis of our regulator SEBI, over a period of last 3 days, beginning from October 11th to October 13th. This marks BBF and IFIE's third year of World Investor Week, a global effort promoted by the International Organization of Securities Commissions, IOSCO, and supported in India by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, bringing together regulators, exchanges, associations, and market infrastructure institutions to raise awareness about the importance of investor education and protection. The questions like planning for life's unexpected challenges, being mindful of economic conditions, and creating an investment portfolio for the long term help investors set strong foundation to build their financial future. This year's WIW, BBF, and IFIE hosted outreach event highlighted the importance of establishing an emergency fund, avoiding high interest debt, conducting research on investment opportunities, understanding the risk of investing, portfolio diversification, fraud prevention, and many more. In the series of these 3 days, BBF India Investor Show 2022 with a tagline, "I love stock markets," got together policymakers, industry stalwarts, and investors on the same platform to discuss, deliberate, and comprehend on the future course of financial markets. We are glad to share that over 2,000 plus people attended our event in the span of these 3 days. We indeed hope that the perspectives shared by our dignitaries were interesting and informative, and their thoughts would have made some real traction within the audience that will translate into future investment philosophy. Investor education and awareness is core to our mission at Bombay Stock Exchange Brokers Forum, BBF, and we are honored to serve at national level, conducting series of programs for investors and young adults. On that note, our sincere gratitude to our regulators, exchanges, MIIs, dignitaries, and speakers. Thank you once again for your kind support and valuable time towards our event. I'm sure that the cooperation with all of you will continue in future. In conclusion, I would like to quote the wisdom of one of our great investors, Mr. Shelby M.C. Davis. It says, invest for the long haul. Invest for the long haul. Don't get too greedy and don't get too scared. So be patient and think long term. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Lalitji, for these words of wisdom. And I'm sure all the viewers will eagerly await the next edition of BBF-IFIE India Investor Show next year. So as I was saying, in the past 3 days, we have witnessed the galacticos of the stock market ecosystem enlighten our investors. I'll quickly summarize some of the takeaways for our investor friends. From the fundamental and economic perspective, global uncertainty has increased manifold. Families in the first world are increasingly finding it difficult to even pay their utility bills. Central banks are challenged with inflation. And in this situation, India appears like an oasis in a desert. Keeping aside the global impact, we are the fastest growing economy in the world and are better placed than any other country. Our companies are fundamentally strong with increasing earnings and better corporate governance. Despite a trade deficit and a weak rupee, most of the speakers showed confidence in the Indian growth story and encouraged long-term investment in the mutual funds and stocks. Some speakers mentioned that the traction from foreign investors and businesses has increased in Indian markets, and Indian investors and domestic institutions are also driving a lot of demand for high-quality stocks. The Indian markets have remained resilient. Any positive turning of events globally could pull the markets up. So instead of thinking about the right time to invest, or getting worried about short-term corrections, we should stress more on how long we can stay invested. The speakers highlighted the importance of investor education and how one should exercise due diligence while investing instead of blindly following anyone's advice or tips. They also cautioned investors to be careful of cyber frauds. Investors should also understand their own risk appetite, net worth, and financial plan and look at diversifying their portfolio. Our regulator, exchanges, depositories, clearing corporations, brokers, and all other market participants are upscaling their technology infrastructure to support high volumes, simplify investing, prevent fraud, and educate the investors. The last 2 years have witnessed crores of new Indian investors coming in the markets. In fact, we have surpassed 10 crore demat accounts recently in August. Our Gen Z, millennials, and women investors are driving the equity cult. As investing is becoming more and more fashionable, it remains imperative for the investors to understand any risky or unregulated markets before getting into them. It's best to stay away from unregulated schemes that offer guaranteed returns. Another key theme to be noted by all young investors is that financial planning is of utmost importance before they start their habit of saving and investing. And retirement planning, health, and term insurance should also be looked at with seriousness early on in life. And last but not the least, in the IFIE India Investor Show, the BSE Broker Forum launched the much needed compliance boost software, which would greatly help brokers to stay on top of their compliance checklists and would help them through regulatory changes. This was lauded by everyone, right from dignitaries, from SEBI to MIIs. With this, I would like to hand over this session to Dr. Aditya Srinivas from the BSE Brokers Forum to conclude the event.
Thank you, Parth, very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much. See, basically, friends, these 3 days were quite power-packed, and this was the 3rd edition of India Investor Show during the World Investor Week, which is observed globally. We really, from the heart, thank the Securities and Exchange Board of India, SEBI, for providing us this. Under their leadership, we are able to do all these things, plus BSE Investor Protection Fund. Apart from this, friends, these 3 days enlightened the power of knowledge. See, the more an investor is aware, the more he is protected. The more knowledgeable he is, the more well financial planning he can do. The various sessions, as basically outlined by Parth, clearly highlight the importance that various market participants and all stakeholders are trying to put in to protect the investors. Right from day one, when all the MIIs, that is the market infrastructure institutions, they provided their insights how to develop the overall capital market ecosystem and why they are playing such an important role to ensure that investor protection is the key. Right from the regulators to basically the capital market intermediaries, today everyone is focused upon one theme, that let us help the investor to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. Not only this, but other sessions were equally important, where the focus was on the various kinds of risk that investors should know, the known risk and the unknown risk, which was discussed by various heads of investor protection funds, how investors should carefully design their strategy, how they should be careful while investing and selecting fundamentally sound companies and staying away from Ponzi schemes. Apart from this, the Vision 2025 that enhances the roadmap towards Indian economy. Today, Indian economy is considered to be one of the fastest growing economy among global headwinds, which is marked by various wars, rising inflation, rising interest rates, and central banks battling on one side inflationary pressure and on other side ensuring that the GDP grows. In this scenario, every speaker assured that basically India is the silver lining, and there is no doubt in that. Especially when we have 70% of our population less than 35 years of age, and the domestic consumption theme being the backbone of our economy, I am sure that in coming times, we will get more and more investors into the market. It should be highlighted that in last 2 years during the pandemic, which had stopped the whole world economy, even then we had a very vibrant capital market and large number of new millennials joined the market. That shows their confidence in Indian economy. Not only this, but even the monthly flows in the form of SIP has crossed 10,000 crore rupees mark on a monthly basis. That again highlights the confidence of a retail Indian investor. women, which account for 49% of the population, have also shown a lot of interest in investing and becoming financially independent. And that was one of the entire power-packed sessions from women speakers that highlighted the importance of financial planning and becoming financially independent. Last but not the least, the legends give their insights regarding what mistakes should be avoided while you select a stock, what should be your long-term perspective. And even they acknowledge the fact that ultimately India is the future of the world. And sooner we will become not only a $5 trillion economy, but in next 25 years, we could be a $30 trillion economy, and India could show the world the road ahead. Finally, friends, the whole objective of this World Investor Week IFI BBF event is basically to give huge knowledge to large number of investors, potential investors, so that a well-informed investor is a well-protected investor. I would like to personally thank all those people who have kept their day in, day out efforts to make this event a highly successful. Thank all the regulators, MIIs, and each and every speaker participant for contributing in this event. Thank you, Parth, once again very much for basically giving me this opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
So with this, we would close the session. Thank you, Dr. Aditya, and thank you, Lalit ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.